Alright, we're going to be talking about the midpoint and the distance formulas, and a little less about the algebra, a little bit more about the geometry, but we'll cover both of it. So the midpoint, as far as definition, it's the point that's in the middle, and that would be a horrible definition as far as English is concerned, but it really makes a lot of sense. So we're going to call it the point that divides a line segment precisely in half. Into two equal or congruent parts. And a segment bisector is going to do the same, but instead it's going to be here, a midpoint is a point that does that. A segment bisector could be a line, a ray, or a segment that divides a segment in half, or two equal or congruent parts. So, basic definition, both of these things, the midpoint and the segment bisector, cuts it in half. Cuts in half. And by half, we mean precisely half. So, let's talk about the midpoint formula in a sense. We have this point negative 2, 7. So negative 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 3, negative 2. That's over here. 3, negative 2. Negative 2, 7. And we want to know the point that's right in the middle. So we get an idea that it's got to be around there someplace. But to find the exact middle. And what I like to think of is how you find the middle between numbers is by averaging them. And how you average something is you add them together and you divide by 2. Add them up, and I'm going to say add them up, right? And divide by how many there are. So what we're going to do is we're going to split up the x and the y. So we're going to deal with the x, the horizontal, and we're going to deal with the y, the vertical. So what's the middle horizontally? Well, we have x, we have negative 2 and 3, because this is xy and this is x comma y. So negative 2 plus 3 divided by 2. So that's 1 divided by 2, or 1/2. And y is the 7 plus the negative 2 divided by 2, because we have two numbers. We're averaging them. And you get 5 divided by 2, or 5/2. So this is 0.5, and this is 2.5. And so 0.5 comma 2.5 looks to be right there. And so talking about our midpoint formula, you could see that the midpoint is cutting this into two equal parts. We could mark it as congruent using our segments like that. So our midpoint is 0.5 comma 2.5, and it certainly looks like it's right there in the middle. So what did we just do? We took the x's and added them together, and then we divided by 2. And this works no matter what. So this midpoint right here between A and B will always be add the x's, add the y's, and divide them both by 2. Sorry, I said 2, so I wrote 2. y1 plus y2 divided by 2. And so remember that your midpoint is a point. So find the midpoint of the segment given the two endpoints, 2, negative 4, negative 4, negative 8. Why don't you guys try this one? Seriously, pause the video, I showed you an example already. You guys try this one and see how you can do it. Pause it. So I'm going to deal with the x's, I'm going to deal with the y's, I'm going to average them. Remember that we are averaging them. Don't try to memorize this formula. Remember that it is just the average x and average y. So it's the average formula. So 2 plus -4, this 2 plus this -4 divided by 2. So that's -2 divided by 2, which is -1. That's our x. Makes sense? And then add our y's. -4 plus a -8 divided by 2. So when you add those two together, you get -12 divided by 2, which is -6. And -6 is right between -4 and -8, and so that makes sense as well. So -1, -6 is the midpoint. So how'd you do? Next one, T, 6, 8, is one endpoint. So I'm going to, and then 10, -5. 6, 8, 10, -5. This is T, and A is the midpoint of T and R. And so A is the midpoint right here. And so to find R, we're going to have to go all the way, and unfortunately it's off my paper. I'm not going to write on the counter, but so notice that this is 6, 8, and this is 10, -5. Now, some people really like to plug it into our midpoint formula, but I don't, because I'm all about the easiest method. And so one thing that somebody taught me, actually one of my students showed me this easy method, and they said, well, to get from the 6 to the 10 on as far as the x's go, you have to go to the right 4. And to get from the 8 to the -5, -5 minus 8, you're going a whole distance of what? Going down 8 and then going down another 5, and so you're going down -13. And so we're going down 13. And so in order to do this again, we're going to go down and over. We're going to go down 13 and over 4, and we're going to find R by going 10 over 4 is going to get us to 14. And if you're going to go -5 and down another 13, -5 minus 13 is going to be -18. And notice now that R and 6, 8, so if you do 14 and 6, you're going to average them, so 6 plus 14 is 20, divided by 2 is 10. And if you do 8 plus a -18, averaging together, you get a -10. -10 divided by 2 is -5. Sorry. And so this is checking that it's actually working for our midpoint. And there you have the midpoint formula. Remember, one word, average. That's all the midpoint is.